Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Ezekiel 30. Egypt and her allies will fall. Right now, or here in the next day or two, there's going to be big meetings over in the Middle East. Turkey is one of them. Members of Egypt are going to be there. Russia is going to be there. A lot of people, Saudi Arabia, a lot of people are getting involved in this stuff. And I find it very interesting that we're talking about this today when that stuff's happening over there. And there is going to be a failure in what they're doing, a great failure. There's going to be some pretty bad situations that are going to come out of this. And in the end, when, and of course, Egypt isn't just Egypt, it's the surrounding areas. But they are going to end up failing in their attempts to take over Jerusalem. The tribulation, everybody's going to lose their wars. They don't know it yet, but it's going to happen. And we're talking about that today. Let's see what this has to say about that and see if it links anything to future time frames. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, Thus says the Lord God, Wail, woe to the day, for the day is near. Even the day of the Lord is near. It will be a day of clouds, the time of the Gentiles. Interesting. That's obviously future. Obviously. What does it say? They will see him coming on the clouds with great power and glory at the end of the tribulation. Day of the Lord, yep. That actually might be talking about rapture. I'll highlight that and come back to it later. Verse 4, The sword shall come upon Egypt, and great anguish shall be in Ethiopia, when the slain fall in Egypt, and they take away her wealth, and her foundations are broken down. Ethiopia, Libya, Lydia, all the mingled people, Chub, and the men of the lands who are allied, shall fall with them by the sword. How funny, these are the same nations that are going to be doing what they're doing in the end times. Thus says the Lord, those who uphold Egypt shall fall, and the pride of her power shall come down. From Migdol to Syene, those within her shall fall by the sword, says the Lord God. Now that did happen. They shall be desolate in the midst of the desolate countries, and her cities shall be in the midst of the cities that are laid waste. Then they will know that I am the Lord, when I have set a fire in Egypt, and all her helpers are destroyed. Of course, now that hasn't happened yet. On that day, messengers shall go forth from me in ships to make the careless Ethiopians afraid, and great anguish shall come upon them, as on the day of Egypt, for indeed it is coming. Thus says the Lord God, I will also make a multitude of Egypt to cease by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. So he's time stamping some of this stuff that's going to happen during their time. This is one of those things where it's extended fulfillment prophecy, but we also have in here dual fulfillment prophecies too. Because he named Nebuchadnezzar specifically, so we know some of this is happening back then. He and his people, verse 11, with him, the most terrible of the nations, shall be brought to destroy the land. They shall draw their swords against Egypt and fill the land with the slain. I will make the rivers dry. That's predicted in the book of Revelation, and sell the land into the hand of the wicked. I will make the land waste, and all that is in it by the hand of aliens. I, the Lord, have spoken. Thus says the Lord God, I will also destroy the idols, and cause the images to cease from Noph. There shall no longer be princes from the land of Egypt. I will put fear in the land of Egypt. I will make Pathros desolate, set fire to Zoan, and execute judgments in No. I will pour my fury on Sin, the strength of Egypt. I will cut off the multitude of No. See, I've always wondered, and I never dug into it, who No is. I've always wondered who that is. And I wonder, I've always wondered if that's a reference to, oh, what's the name of that place? It's right on the tip of my brain. Is it Zidon? I think it's Zidon. I always wonder if that's a reference to them, but I never have dug deeper enough into it to find out. Verse 16, and set a fire in Egypt. See, there's so much of this that seems to be jumping back and forth from their time to future time. And we see, some dual fulfillment going on here because a lot of this stuff is going into future time. Verse 16, and set a fire in Egypt. Sin shall have great pain. Notice sin is capitalized. So I wonder who that, and he did it again in verse 15. I wonder if he's referring to something specific. I wonder if this is a specific word to a specific group or individual or nation or entity. And set a fire in Egypt. Sin shall have great pain. No shall be split open, and Noph shall be in distress daily. The young men of Aven and Pi Beseth shall fall by the sword, and these cities shall go into captivity. At Tahaphanes, the day shall also be darkened, when I break the yokes of Egypt there, and her arrogant strength shall cease in her. As for her, a cloud shall cover her, and her daughters shall go into captivity. Daughters meaning not actual people, but daughters as in the surrounding countryside, the surrounding nations. One of the things that I've discovered in the Bible is that whenever you see somebody referring to daughters, it's not always referring to people, to actual female daughters, children of individual people. It's referring to surrounding nations or any nation that has branched off from that main nation. Now, when you take that understanding and go look in Jeremiah when it talks about the daughter of Babylon, you start to realize, another nation. Very interesting. And this is mentioned multiple times, Isaiah 2. Verse 19, thus I will execute judgments on Egypt. Then they shall know that I am the Lord. And it came to pass in the 11th year, in the first month, on the 7th day of the month, that the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, I have broken the arm of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. It's taken away his power. And see, it has not been bandaged for healing, nor a splint put on to bind it, to make it strong enough to hold a sword. So he's taken away their ability to fight, their power. He hasn't literally broken his arm. It's a euphemism for taking away his strength. Verse 22, therefore, thus says the Lord God, surely I am against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and will break his arms, both the strong one and the one that was broken. And I will make the sword fall out of his hand, taking away his ability to fight with a military. I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and disperse them throughout the countries. I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon and put my sword in his hand. But I will break Pharaoh's arms, and he will groan before him with the groanings of a mortally wounded man. Thus I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon, but the arms of Pharaoh shall fall down. They shall know that I am the Lord when I put my sword into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he stretches it out against the land of Egypt. I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and disperse them throughout the countries. Then they shall know that I am the Lord. Now, did they, in their destruction in the past, discover who God was? Not really. Maybe some, but not really. So, are we seeing more hints that this is a future fulfillment? Absolutely. Matter of fact, it's been happening. Sometimes some of these prophecies in the Bible have a long rate of fulfillment, and it goes over generations until it's finally fulfilled. But this has been happening, and it's still happening, and I imagine it'll be finished in the tribulation. But little tidbits of information here. Did he really break Pharaoh's arm? No. He's talking about his reach, his ability, his power, his length of influence. Who is he influencing here? And the sword is going to fall out of his hand. He's not going to have an army anymore. He's not going to be able to fight militarily. Well, that's happened to Egypt. I mean, they've got a military, but it ain't that good. In fact, it's only what it is because other people have given them stuff to be able to build up some form of military, but they're not that good. Now, when he talks about the king of Babylon here, who is he talking about? Is he talking about the actual king of Babylon? Now, he names Nebuchadnezzar in a couple of spots here, but then it seems to change subject matter. Because now, could he possibly be referring to the Antichrist? Who would, in essence, be the king of Babylon, because he's going to be the king of everything. It's possible. If that's the case, this is definitely future fulfillment. We have some of it that got fulfilled in the past, but there's going to be a future fulfillment that will finish it. So it's very, I mean, we see the reference to daughters, and it's clearly it's not talking about actual female daughters of children. It's or they're daughters of the individual people. It's talking about the surrounding nations who have attached themselves to Egypt. The daughters of Egypt, just like daughters of Babylon. Who's the daughter of Babylon? It's only one nation is the daughter of Babylon. That particular daughter of Babylon is going to end up being the harlot, sits on the back of the red dragon. The typology here is amazing. So little tidbits here, little bits of information here, but it starts to help you understand other stuff in the Bible. It starts to help clear up some of the other prophecies and what they're actually referring to. You just got to read it and pay attention to what it's saying. Now, at first glance, you read it and it goes, okay, they're going to take the daughters into captivity. Well, why just the daughters? Why not the sons? Obviously, he's not talking about women. He's talking about nations, other nations that have attached to Egypt and branched off from them. They are subsidiaries of Egypt. Just like in the Ottoman Empire, Greece was a part of the Ottoman Empire. It was a daughter of the Ottoman Empire. Parts of Rome, parts of China, other areas were daughters of the Greco-Roman Empire, of the Ottoman Empire. So, yeah. So this is what God's doing. He's opening this stuff up and showing us this. Now we can take these understandings, go elsewhere in the Bible, and start to understand other parts that were confusing, and realize there's more going on there. There's more in this word than what we've originally gotten out of it. Very interesting. Very interesting to note that stuff and then use that later in some other places and find out, oh, wait a minute, is he really talking about this? Or because we found this meaning in other places, does he really talk about this? And then you start to get a much clearer understanding of what's happening. And it helps you interpret some of these things a whole lot easier. It takes a lot of the stuff that we've been taught over the years and throws it out the window. So that was Ezekiel 30. Tomorrow will be Ezekiel 31. Egypt cut down like a great tree. This should be even more interesting because there's going to be more of this stuff in this chapter. Because sometimes trees refer to individual leadership. We'll see what that does when we get there tomorrow. All right, guys, that was Ezekiel 30. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next one.